Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Polls everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.
All right, shalom Israel, shalom, shalom, Lord of Christ. Hope everyone's doing some well. All right, shalom. This is Real Time Revelations, a show I do every Monday and Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. where I bring out relevant topics, recent news, and I give you the biblical breakdown on it. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about the story. We'll go into it. We'll go into the Bible. And I'll give you the revelation in real time, what the Bible says on this topic. Now, something I've seen very recently, we see a lot of artists, female artists, they're on every sort of podcast talking all sorts of nonsense. Something I've seen recently was something from GloRilla. Now, GloRilla was interviewed, and she mentioned something about men cheating. She said all men are programmed to cheat. So, that kind of struck me as something, because that's something, you hear plenty of times, all men cheat or this, that, and the third, and men are no good, and this, all these sorts of ideals. So what I wanted to do with this, this story, since GloRilla is, this big female rapper, female pop star, and has so much influence on our sisters, let's bring out this topic. Let's discuss, do all men cheat? Are all men programmed to cheat? We're gonna get into the, we're gonna get into the history of monogamy itself, which is, that's where this idea of, cheating comes from. It's without the idea of monogamy, you don't have the idea of cheating, right? So we're going to get into the history of that. We're going to get into the Bible. We're going to break this whole thing down. All right, shalom to everybody that's watching. I see Kaya La. I see Sister Vanessa. Shalom. I see Don. All right, shalom. Welcome. If you haven't followed the page, make sure you're following. So you can catch not only, this show every Monday and Thursday, but you can also catch, all our short videos and clips and everything we post up on this page. All right, no sweat. So the first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna get the interview, all right, where she says this. All right, so we're gonna bring it up. All right, here we go. So let me bring this right to the beginning. So this is where GloRilla says the old men cheat.
I honestly think men is programmed to cheat. Like, I don't think they really be.
That's crazy.
They really don't be trying to hurt your feelings. Like, they really just can't help it. Like, I really think men can't help themselves with cheating. I really think they can love you and cheat though.
Do you feel like there are no faithful?
So she says, she just thinks the old men are programmed to cheat, and they don't be trying to hurt your feelings. They could be in love with you and still cheat. They just can't help themselves. Let me tell you something. Men by nature, most men, let's say not, it's not all men, because you have some men that only desire one, you have some men that don't desire any. Most men, 9 times out of 10, have a desire for more than one woman. That's just nature. It's just, it's a biological drive. Men have testosterone. It's a hormone that drives us to conquer. Men want to conquer more than one tail. That's just, I'm gonna just be brutally honest with y'all. That's the biological imperative. All right, that's the way we wired. So she, now a lot of sisters would say, okay, well, if he cheats or if he this and that, then he doesn't love me. Okay, that's false. A man can love more than one woman. The same way a woman can love, more than one child. Is it's very simple. A simple mathematical equation. But this sister has come to even terms with, okay, a man could even love you. A man could love you and still, quote unquote, cheat. It's just, they're just programmed to cheat. And she's using, of course, this word cheat because of the idea, the Christianity push that really comes. We're going to get into the history of it, later on in the show. But it comes from the idea that Christianity push of monogamy. All right, so we'll play on.
Men can't help themselves with cheating. I really think they can love you and cheat though.
Do you feel like there are no faithful men left?
I feel like in certain parts of the world it is.
But not in America?
I mean, I feel.
And so this interviewer is saying, Do you think there's no faithful men left? And again, faithful, you're just using this American or this westernized idea of what faithful is, right? You have to go into, okay, well, what is faithful? What does it mean to be faithful, or even using the word loyal? You know what I'm saying? What does it mean to be loyal? What does it mean to be faithful? We're gonna get into it after this, all right?
Like it's some in America, not the one. I feel like the ones I like is none. So I need to change my type.
So she said, that there might be some, quote unquote faithful men in the world, but not the ones that she likes. Not the ones that she likes. The ones that she likes, desire more than one woman, and it should be no surprise. The ones that she likes, the ones that this sister likes, other sisters also like. So it's just very simple math. If you like this brother, is a very high likelihood. If you see the greatness in this brother, if you see, this brother's attractive, this brother's on his game, he's doing his thing. If you see that, it's very, it's a high likelihood that other sisters see that and they also want this brother. So, it's just very, it's just very simple math, right? And then he's saying, she was saying, okay, maybe she just needs to change her type. You don't really need to change your type. What you need to change is the idea of monogamy. Monogamy is not real. It's a fantasy. Even in the Christian church, monogamy is not real, because what will they do? Okay, in order to be monogamous, in order to be with this one person, they'll leave the previous person they were with to get with a new person, right? They have monogamy, but they also have divorce. So that, if this person isn't, this person isn't making you happy, you can just go ahead and leave them and get another woman, or the sister can go ahead and leave him and get another brother. Monogamy does not exist. It's an idea that does not work. Even the history of it, it was only ever about marriage it comes from Rome, according to their custom. Now, their custom, marriage is a certificate. In Israelite custom, according to the Bible, sex is marriage. So there is really, now you ain't gonna tell me in that Christian church, everybody in that Christian church is only ever having sex with one person for their whole lifetime. You just, there's just no integrity in the Christian church. They say one thing and do another thing. You know what I'm saying? They say, they even say sex before marriage, which is, a null point because sex is marriage. But they say, oh, sex before marriage is fornication. But you ask anybody in that Christian church that's married, did you wait to be married until you had sex? They'll tell you no. You shouldn't follow anything that comes out of the mouth of anybody in that Christian church. All right? We're gonna play on in this clip. Let me get it. All right.
So I need to change my type.
What's your type now?
I mean,
Right. We know. We understand, sis. We know. I think we all understand what this sister's type is. Salakia. She even answered the question. She just laughed and giggled. Her type is the Pookie and the Ray Rays. It's the, it's Desmond. It's, it's Tyrone. That's her type. It's a dreadhead. That's, good night. She didn't even answer the question. She just laughed. We understand, sis. No sweat.
My type. I'm at this point, I'm just waiting on God to show me.
It's crazy.
And she says at this point, she's just waiting on God to show you. That's that Christianity right there. She's just waiting on God to bring her a monogamous man. Meanwhile, she's dealing and sleeping with all these men. Sex is marriage. So the point where you have slept with one brother and now you sleep with another brother, you have committed adultery against the brother and against the Most High. All right. So you're waiting for, God to bring this mysterious monogamous man that's exactly your type, that's exactly what you want, that's, that has all this money, that's over 6 foot or whatever requirements every damn sister has in that Christian church, that's just waiting on this, this mystical monogamous man that I'm sure exists somewhere in the world. He's just going to meet every single one of your requirements, and he's going to desire only you. Okay, right. She's just waiting on God. God ain't answering that prayer. That prayer do not exist. That prayer do not exist. What you should do is find a brother that you can get on his program, that you trust him to lead you, that you trust him to protect you, and be with him. All right. Only sleep with him. Only, be with him. Right. We're gonna play on.
God to show me.
It's crazy. I always say there's probably like 10 like good men left, and it's just me and all of my friends. Like we're like
Now his brother makes a joke. It's probably like 10, 10 faithful men. It's just me and all my homies. Right. Right. I'm sure, buddy. I'm sure you've only ever dealt with, one woman in your entire life. I'm sure, I'm sure you're married and this, that, and that. I'm sure all your friends have only ever dealt with one person or haven't dealt with anybody, and they just waiting for GloRilla to be that mystical monogamous man for her. I'm sure. No sweat.
like the only one.
Yeah, you got some dreadhead friends?
No, we from New York. We don't really have that many dreadhead friends.
For real?
No, not many. But I can tell one of my mans to grow it out, and like maybe I could make something happen for you.
Right. So that's GloRilla. Okay, that's the interview they did with GloRilla. She's saying all men are programmed to cheat. Now, I've got another video because it's kind of funny. This kind of topic has kind of always been relevant, with our sisters ever since we were enslaved and introduced to this idea. I wouldn't even say a Christian idea of monogamy. This idea of monogamy, which comes from ancient Rome. Christianity adopted it because, of course, damn near every practice in Christianity you can trace back to ancient Rome or ancient Greece. It's really anything to do with the Bible. It's all pagan and Roman and Grecian, right? So, this has always been a topic of conversation with our sisters because we adopt our oppressor's moral code. We adopt his customs, his way of living, which not only doesn't work for him, because even they have what's known as a mistress and all these things, left, right, and center. They're getting divorced because of quote unquote infidelity. It doesn't work for them, and it certainly doesn't work for us. We are a completely different breed of people. I'm sure you understand that our brothers are not like their men. They, there's a very big shift. All right, the sisters will understand. A Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian brother is a very different person than an oppressor. All right, we're gonna get into this next video, which comes from way back in the day with. I remember one of my previous shows, I shared a clip from an interview with Shahrazad Ali, which wrote this book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. And in this interview, she mentions and she talks about the idea of monogamy, or the idea of a man having more than one woman. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get that up, share it. Give me 1 second to get it. Okay, and Let me show you shared on the stream. I've got it up right here. Okay.
You say in your book, there is no history of the black man settling down with one woman,
Right.
and never desiring to have another. Before slavery, during slavery, or after slavery,
That's
the black
just the
man
truth.
has never been recorded to have just one woman.
Right.
And that's a fact. It's a lot here. Black men, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian men as a nation have never been recorded to only deal with one woman, and that's just it for the rest of his life. You know what I'm saying? It's never happened. Go as far as back as the Bible, which is, as far back as Black history you will get. We in, so-called Black History Month in the UK. You want Black history, you read that Bible. You read plenty of brothers that had more than one wives. You read about, Jacob, who is, the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel. He had, 4 wives. You read about King David and many wives. You read about King Solomon, good night. Salakia. Is never been recorded where, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian men, the Israelites, have only ever desired to have one woman in mass as a nation, right? You might have your odd brother again, that, you know, you have different personalities. One brother might only want one wife. If some brothers that don't want any wives, just want to focus on the work of the Lord, you know what I'm saying? But in mass, you've never had that. Before slavery, during slavery, after slavery, it's never existed. And it's not just with black men. You look at any other nation of people, any other culture, polygyny has always been a thing. Polygyny being when a man has more than one woman. It's always been a thing throughout all customs, even the oppressor's custom, even you go back to Roman custom, you know, and in fact, real quick I'll take a break from this video and I'm gonna go into the where monogamy came from. I'll share this on the Chrome. All right, so monogamy was first established. In fact, let me see if I can make this bigger for you all because of the text. It's a little small. All right, let me see. I kind of got to scroll across a little bit, but that should be too wide. I think y'all can see now. Okay, it says monogamy was first established in ancient Rome and Greece, and it was later spread throughout the Western world by Christianity. Okay, so Roman law required citizens to have only one spouse at a time, but divorce and remarriage were permitted. So essentially, it wasn't, you know, monogamy is just only having one spouse at a time. Not being you can only have one spouse in your lifetime is just at a time, meaning if you want to get another wife, what do you have to do? You have to divorce the previous one and remarry, right? So imagine you've built, you know, you get with a woman, you build together. You know what I'm saying? She's with you, she grows with you, you grow with her, you build together, you have a family, you have children. All of a sudden, this other woman comes along that you also desire. You follow that Roman monogamy. Now you have to divorce. You have to leave this first one who you built with, you had children with, you started a family with. You have to leave her in order to get this new woman. Right? And that is completely against the Bible. It's completely against the Bible. We're going to get into that. You know, it's completely against the Bible and against Christ. Christ himself, you know, speaks specifically against this because Christ was alive in the time of the Romans. So he specifically spoke on this. He specifically spoke on this custom that the Romans had. All right. But it says, however, Romans were often sexually involved with concubines and slaves. So even this, you know, Roman idea of monogamy is not about only sleeping with one person. And, you know, even if you have a wife, these Romans would still, you know, sleep with concubines and slaves. Is just legally they were married to this one person and say, you know, all their goods and, you know, their property and land would pass to that one woman when they die, right? It has, you know, nothing to do with marriage according to the Bible. It has nothing to do with sex, which is marriage according to the Bible. All right. Even Greek monogamy, which I believe the Greeks followed after the Romans, monogamy in Greece coincided with the growth of chattel slavery and the expansion of political rights. So this to do with, you know, politics and also slavery. Then it goes into Christianity embraced monogamy and spread it throughout the Western world. So they embraced the idea of monogamy, which again was just to do with you could only on paper have one wife, and then, you know, but you could have sex with, you know, whatever else you wanted. You could have sex, you know, them Romans, good night. You look into their customs and all them orgies and that sort of thing. It's not just women they're having, you know, intercourse with. I pray you understand. But you could only have one wife, and then whatever else you did was just your business. It was just quote unquote illegitimate. So, for example, any children that you had outside of your spouse on paper were known as illegitimate children, and they could not inherit, you know what I'm saying, anything that you would have passed down. Like in our culture, we pass down anything we have to our children. Those children, according to Roman customs, would not be able to obtain anything. They have no rights. All right, which again is just, you know, it's a terrible, terrible thing, this whole system, where because, you know, because your mother and your father weren't married on paper, even though they were having sex, they were together, they had you, now you have absolutely no rights as a son because of this Roman, this Roman custom. All right. Now, let me get back to the video. So, like, give me 1 second. Let me get back to the video real quick. And also, before we do that, I'm gonna read these comments. I've seen a car dropped a few comments. It says, Salaki, if I may, it's always them Christians you say men cheat because they have multiple wives, but they have multiple men. That's a fact. Those Christian women now, from the moment you have sex with a brother, that is your husband. It's not your boyfriend. It's not your situationship. That is your husband. Now, if you have sex with another man, this in Christianity, they have this idea where, okay, they say sex before marriage is fornication, but everybody is doing it anyway because Christians have no integrity. They're all hypocrites. They have no, they don't give a damn about anything. They just do whatever pleases them, whatever feels good to their flesh. All right. But boom, okay, they say you're not married to this person because you don't have this piece of paper. So you can have sex with whoever you want until you now get this paper, and now you can only have sex with this one person. Meanwhile, you as a sister, you've had 5, 10 different husbands, not knowing, because Christianity is because Christianity teaches that monogamy is adultery according to the Bible. All right. She also said, men don't cheat, but have multiple wives. Yes. Why don't women want to build a man? That's a very good question. That's a very good question. All right. Now we're going to get into also, now there is a way that a man can commit adultery against his wife. We're going to get into that. All right. I'm sure, from all my brothers and sisters that are in the ISUPK, this will be of no surprise. But for anybody that's watching is new, there is a way that you can commit adultery against a woman, and we're going to get that in the Bible. All right. Now let's share the video again. We're going to play more in this Shahrazad Ali interview. All right, let me get it right here.
Well, I think there's some actual facts we can look at on that. Monogamy has failed for the white man in America.
But this is like saying it's okay.
It's not me saying it's okay. This is how they're living. I'm giving you the history of what their life is. Black men haven't been waiting on me to tell them it's all right to have more than one woman.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You look in the Black community, you have all sorts of cousins you didn't know, or you have all sorts of, brothers and sisters you didn't know you had. Because listen, it's just never been our custom in bulk as a nation to only deal with one woman, right? I'm sure y'all understand. I'm there every especially I would say especially, but really it's everybody. I was gonna say especially Benjamites, because we have all sorts of children everywhere, but it's the same with Judites. The same with, the so-called American Negroes. It's the same with Hispanics. It's the same with Native Indians. It's just not in our culture. It's not in our biology to only deal with one woman. Again, it's not even, exclusive to us, right? You look at the East Indians, they all, practice and believe in polygyny. You look at any nation prior to being introduced to Western ideals and this idea of monogamy and Christianity, which is just spread throughout the whole damn universe. Even, a Chinaman that believes in Buddha and is, devout Buddhist, he still thinks that Christ is white. He still thinks about Christianity, all these ideals, right? Prior to that, every nation was, polygynous. Every nation, the men had more than one woman. That's just how it is, just as life, right? It was nothing special. It was nothing, they didn't even think nothing of it. It's just how things were. It's just nature. You just, that's just how it is. But of course, we have customs and we have laws in how we deal with, our wives. We have laws in how we, in how we deal with, how we operate, how we deal brotherly and sisterly with one another, right? Whereas these other nations, they just, they just do what they do. All right, I'm gonna play on.
Either have white men. This is just what they do. I'm not talking about fornication and adultery. I'm not talking about one-night stands and running around rampant with other women. That's not the kinds of, when I say more than one woman relationship. Mm-hmm. I mean that before we can.
And also one-night stands and, you sleeping with a woman and leaving her, that is against the Bible. If you sleep with a woman, you have to keep her. That is now your wife. Sex is marriage. So if you sleep with this woman, that is your wife. You have to keep her until you die. So, brothers, you should think very wisely, should think, very deeply before they have sex with just, every damn woman they see that has, the biggest BBL or fake, this, that, and the third, all these, 304s in the world that you go out and sleep with because they look good to your eyes, but you do not want these women. You should not sleep with these women, because once you sleep with a woman, that is your wife according to the Bible. And if you now leave her, you commit adultery. All right? So we're going to play on.
Came to America, our men had more than one wife and family. And we were satisfied with it because we had not met the monogamy idea. We had not met the American white woman who, insists on certain kinds of values in her man. We had not learned envy and jealousy. All right. After coming here, those kinds of ideas were bred into us because of society and the mores that the Americans made up here. And so then we started to have problems with that. But I think that.
So, again, this is the saying. It's only after being introduced to, this Western idea, this European idea. It comes from Roman. So this Roman idea of monogamy. Now you start to have an issue with the way things have always been for generation after generation. The way that men are simply wired, now it's become an issue because we're introduced to our oppressor's way of things, which is completely against the Bible. I don't know if y'all know this, but our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of, and everything he does and says is against Christ and against the Most High. So we should absolutely not look to this devil for any sort of guidance on how we should live our lives, for any sort of guidance on how God wants us to live our lives, because that's what's in that Christian church. What's in that Christian church is what your oppressor tells your pastor to tell you. Your oppressor tells your pastor to tell you that no matter how much drugs you sell, God knows your heart. Your oppressor tells your pastor to tell you, you can sleep with however many men you want to, it's until you get that marriage certificate, that's when you're married. Your oppressor tells your pastor to tell you everything against Christ and against God to keep you destroyed. So absolutely do not look at your oppressor for any sort of guidance on how you should live your life, and don't look to him as the standard for anything. All right, I'm gonna play on.
Since it is apparent that most of them, not all of them, it's certainly up to the man, do love more than one woman. I got tons of mail. A lot of black men write and tell me that they have had two women for 5, 10, 15, and 20 years, and they can't even get the women to speak to each other. Sometimes they have two families,
would I want
two sets of children.
But Sharon, would I want to talk to a woman who's sharing perhaps the bed and the money and the social life with who I would deem as my man?
If you want to deal in reality, and if you are not insecure, and if you don't think that robs you of something.
Let that sizzle in your spirit. Hold on, she's cooking.
You would want to know them. If he loves her, you certainly should want to know her.
Now let that sizzle in your spirit. This interview is saying, well, would I want to know this woman who's, sharing the resources and whatever, this, that, and the third with what I deem to be my man? Again, this Christian idea of even the idea of, resources where, when a man has a wife, he has to just take care of everything. He has to pay all the bills and, pay the car note and do all these things. That is not in the Bible. In the Bible, our sisters are virtuous. What virtuous means is everybody wants to be Proverbs 31. Virtuous means skilled. You're a very skilled woman. This woman in Proverbs 31 worked. She made clothes for her family. She, had all these different businesses and made money for her husband. It isn't just, she just, her husband just takes care of everything. A virtuous woman is a skilled woman. But, then Shahrazad comes back, okay, well, you should absolutely want to know who this woman is. Now, it's not to say you have to be best friends with this sister. You might not have that relationship like that. You're not required to be best friends with your man's other wife. That's fine. But as long as y'all are cordial and there's no, y'all ain't fighting at the chance you get because, y'all ain't fighting over this man's rod because, he gave it to this woman, gave it to this woman. that's none of your business. All right. As long as he's giving it to you, that's your business. Your marriage is with your man. It's not with your man's other ribs. That's nothing to do with you. All right. Now y'all can have, a good relationship between y'all, or you could not. But, it is a wise thing to kind of want to know, okay, this woman, because your husband loves this woman. You know what I'm saying? You should have a good relationship and not, just not cause chaos with, your man's other ribs. All right, I'm gonna play on in this video.
Want to deal in reality, and if you are not insecure.
To a woman who's sharing perhaps the bed and the money and the social life with who I would deem as my man.
If you want to deal in reality, and if you are not insecure, and if you don't think that robs you of something, you would want to know them. If he loves her, you certainly should want to know her. I'm trying.
Right. And the sister here, she said, so I learned that a woman is married to him and not married to his wives. That's absolutely correct. You are married to that brother. All right. You are not married to this brother's other wives. So you ain't, you ain't required to get involved, or you ain't really required to, have this, amazing relationship with these other ribs. That's not, that's not a requirement. All right. Just be a sister. Be sisterly. That's it. That's all you're required to do. All right. Now I'm going to play on. Right here.
Don't think that robs you of something. You would want to know them. If he loves her, you certainly should want to know her. I'm trying to get us to deal with some reality for a change. Stop dealing with fantasy. Stop dealing with television. Stop dealing with imagination of how we wish things were. Let's deal with them how they are.
She's saying, she wants us to deal with some reality. Our sisters, we need to deal with some reality. We shouldn't be looking for this mystical monogamous man like GloRilla is. Like every Christian woman is looking for this mystical monogamous man. Meanwhile, they've slept with 100 men, and they just waiting on this monogamous man to now only be with her. Like, good night. So like your prayers will go unanswered. Your dreams will go unfulfilled if that's what you're waiting on. All right, play on.
What it is, present tense. And
but
if we
because
deal
that's
with that,
happening doesn't mean I have to like that or
no,
want
that
to
means
accept
that you can live in hell. That means you can live in doubt. That means that you can always be checking on your man. That means that you can be insecure and be tearful. And that means you can be disappointed when you find out the real truth.
Damn. Boss, I ain't really got nothing to say. She spit. Like, you can in your heart of hearts, you could think it's wrong, and you could think, a man should be monogamous. He should only be with me. You're going to find yourself very disappointed when you find the truth that your man desires other women. No matter, he could say to you that he only wants you and he only has eyes for you. He could say these things because he's trying to appease you, because that's what you want to hear, because you are a Christian. But your man desires, 99 times out of 100, your man desires more than one woman. That's life. So you could be, you could have this idea that your man only wants more than one woman, but you'll find yourself very disappointed when you find out the truth. You find yourself very insecure when you're checking your man's phone every 5 seconds because you got some notification, and now you want to know who it is, and who you were with last night, and da. You could find yourself very stressed, very anxious, very insecure, or you could deal with reality and live in reality. They got about 2 options. That's it. Or if you was to believe in monogamy, then okay, you could just be a virgin your whole life and never sleep with a man, right? Because that's what you should do. If you waiting for this mystical monogamous man, and you're just going to die old and alone because you're waiting on this dream that does not exist. You got about 3 options. You'll go ahead and choose. All right, I'm gonna run this back a little bit.
Fearful, and that means you can be disappointed when you find out the real truth. And you don't want to have that in your life. None of us do. But in order not to have that, then we have to deal with some reality and recognize that men are not limited in the way that women are. Men are able to love more than one woman. I'm not talking about, as I said, just a random sexual relationship of fornication and adultery and all of that. I mean that there are many black men who have children by more than one woman. What is to become of those children? They need their father.
But if you would cheat on me or walk out on me...
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. We have to get into definition. Who told us that was cheating? Where did that idea come from that that's cheating? And I'm not saying that a lot of men are not just running around. I'm not talking about that. But if a woman finds out that her man has been with a woman while she's been with him for 3 or 4 or 5 years, that's a serious commitment and relationship. And if it hasn't taken anything from me, if I'm not going short of anything, and if this is what he thinks his responsibility is, then what kind of hell are you going to go through to prevent that? Since we cannot stop him, we have not been successful. The white woman has not been successful in stopping the white man from having another woman. They call them a mistress. We pick up a lot of that terminology. But a man who has 2 women, that's not necessarily a mistress. That's just his other woman. Now we got 2 choices.
Facts. I'm going to run this back just a little bit.
Thinks his responsibility is, then what kind of hell are you going to...
Let me spin it back a little bit, Select.
Running around. I'm not talking about that. But if a woman finds out that her man has been with a woman while she's been with him for 3 or 4 or 5 years, that's a serious commitment and relationship.
Right. And now, that's not to say brothers can just run around, sleeping with this woman, sleeping with whores, essentially. If you sleep with a whore, you have now joined a whore unto yourself, and you are now married to a whore. All right, and play on.
And if it hasn't taken anything from me, if I'm not going short of anything, and if this is what he thinks his responsibility is, then what kind of hell are you going to go through to prevent that? Since we cannot stop him, we have not been successful. The white woman has not been successful in stopping the white man from having another woman. They call them a mistress. We pick up a lot of that.
And as we read before, this idea of Roman monogamy was only to do with, legal marriage. You could sleep with whatever the hell you wanted to, but he could only be legally married to one spouse. All right, we'll play on.
Terminology. But a man who has 2 women, that's not necessarily a mistress. That's just his other woman. Now we got 2 choices. We can be the woman or the other woman. We don't have but those 2. Now I know we don't like that. I don't like that. But that's the reality of our life at some point. Now it's up to the man. But every man doesn't want 2 women, but those that do, they're going to do it.
What about our morals and our religion?
What about morals and religion? By religion, we all know what religion he talking about. She talking about Christianity. What about Christianity? What about our morals? Okay.
Religion, whose morals? Not our religion, because we're not practicing the religion of black people anymore. That was taken from us. We don't have our morals anymore. That was taken from us. So whose idea are you representing when you stand up for those values?
Good night. Good night. Somebody get this sister a flyer. But good night. But the point she brought was heavy. Whose morals are you, standing for when you stand for this idea of monogamy? You're standing for the same man that forced himself upon you in slavery. That's whose morals you're standing for. You think he's so moral and he's so right. He forced himself upon you in slavery. He fed your children to alligators, and that's whose moral code you're upholding. You know what I'm saying? The man that, is just robs and pillages and grapes everywhere he goes. That's whose moral code you're upholding.
Not ours. Somebody else's. Some other nationality. And it may work for them. But it doesn't work for us. It hasn't worked for anybody, really, but nobody wants to deal with the truth. Monogamy was only created because of the economics of it.
And as she says, it's not worked for anybody. All you have to do is look at the divorce rate. You look at the divorce rate, that will let you know that monogamy does not work. Right? Now, we're going to get into monogamy being adultery. Okay, let's see what Christ says about this. Now, again, I went into the history of it. It comes from Roman customs, and Christ was around at the time of Romans. So we specifically spoke on this. All right, we get this in Mark chapter 10 and verse 11. And he saith unto them, whosoever shall put away his wife and marry another committeth adultery against her. That's how a brother commits adultery against her. And this right here, this is what's in the Christian church. The Christian church, monogamy is adultery. Because now, if you're a brother that has a wife, you have a woman that you're sleeping with, that is your wife, and now you decide you want to marry another woman. You decide another woman makes you happy. Another woman, you just want to get this other woman. You want to sleep with another woman. You're in that Christian church. Well, okay, your pastor will tell you, you will have to leave this first one. You will have to leave that wife that you have in order to marry another. That's the Roman custom. You can only have one spouse at a time. You have to leave this woman to go marry another. You commit adultery against that woman. That woman that you leave, you commit adultery against her, because according to the Bible, once you get a wife, once you lie with a woman, you cannot leave her. It is against the law to leave this woman unless she commits adultery against you. Unless she sleeps with another man, then you can leave her. But if she doesn't, and you decide that, because you want this other woman, you're going to leave her, you commit adultery against her. All right? We get the next verse. Don't think your sisters is safe. And if a woman shall put away her husband, if a woman, she has a situationship, she has a boyfriend, and she think this ain't a marriage, she wants to now, get with, this next brother and that next brother and 10 brothers after him, or now, she's been sleeping with however many men, or this brother for so long, and now she wants to get married, so she marries some other man. If you put away your husband, if you put away that man that you've been sleeping with and be married to another, you commit adultery. If you were sleeping with a brother and you sleep with another brother, you commit adultery. All right? That's in the Bible. Now we're going to get more on the monogamy. So again, monogamy comes from Rome. Even, the sister in the interview, she said monogamy was only created because of the economics of it. So we're going to get into the history of it. All right? So I got here, marriage in ancient Rome. Let me make this text a little bit larger for you. Give me 1 second. All right. That's fine. All right. Marriage in ancient Rome. Okay. So, marriage in ancient Rome was a fundamental institution of society and was used by Romans primarily as a tool for interfamilial alliances. All right. Now we're going to get into the interfamilial alliances later on. We're going to get into the story of the Sabians and why this whole thing was introduced. All right. The institution of Roman marriage was a practice of marital monogamy, right? Roman citizens could only have one spouse at a time in marriage, but were allowed to divorce and remarry, which is adultery according to the Bible. Okay, this form of prescriptively monogamous marriage that coexisted with male resource polygyny, which I'm sure is some form of polygyny where, if you have more wealth, you have more women, something like that. All right. In Greco-Roman civilization, now that's not our culture, this whole resource polygyny. A man can just have more than one wife, whether it be, whatever, makes him attractive to sisters and he just has more than one wife, that's it. It could be wealth, it could be just personality. A brother could be tall and have 10 ribs. It's just, that's it's a Christian idea to think you have to be rich and you have to be a high value man in order to have more than one woman. You cannot, any brother can have more than one woman. You don't need to earn 6 figures. You don't need to be, 10 foot tall. Like, you can just have more than one woman. Whatever it is that makes you attractive, whatever it is that makes women desire you, you can just have more than one woman. All right. In Greco-Roman civilization, I think that's in line with the previous sentence. Okay, this form of prescriptively monogamous marriage that coexisted with male resource polygyny in Greco-Roman civilization may have arisen from the relative egalitarianism of democratic and republican city-states. Even think of, the Democrats and the Republics, even that whole thing has to do with, we mentioned earlier, I think in one of the other tabs, if I go right here, the Greek monogamy is to do with, politics. All right, we're going to go into it. It says early Christianity embraced this ideal of monogamous marriage, which is, again, you can only be married to this one person, but you can have sex with whatever else you want to. You know, they were having sex with concubines and slaves and just anybody else, really. But, you know, they could only be legally married with this one person. Okay? It embraced this ideal of monogamous marriage by adding its own teaching of sexual monogamy. So now this is its own thing that's been added in Christianity, where now you have to be sexually monogamous, which again does not exist, because everybody in that Christian church has had sex with more than one person. I can damn near guarantee it. Pick one person in that Christian church, I can damn near guarantee they've had sex with more than one person, because Christianity is nothing to do with the Bible, nothing to do with God. Okay? And perpetrated it worldwide and became an essential element in many later Western cultures. So now it's an essential element. Well, now your woman will leave you because you have another woman, because monogamy to her is essential, even though it doesn't exist. Okay? It says, Roman marriage had precedence in myth. Now, this goes into the story about the interfamilial alliances, right? The abduction of the Sabian woman may reflect the archaic custom of bride abduction. You don't know what bride abduction is. It means, you know, instead of this woman falling for you and you take her to marry, this woman doesn't fall for you, but you still take her to marry. You know, I pray you'll understand. These Romans are filthy. You know, they call us, you know, they call us rapists and they call us predators. These people are the predators. All right. It says Rome's Sabian neighbors rejected overtures of intermarriage, meaning these Roman people, they were struggling to reproduce, and they were neighboring these people called the Sabians, and they said, okay, well, can we take some of your women to marry because we're struggling to reproduce? The Sabians said, we don't want whatever, you know, we don't want your unmelanated folks mingling with our women. All right, no sweat. So they rejected the marriage by what's it called? Basically, the proposal of the idea was proposed by Romulus and his band of male immigrants, and then Romulus and his men abducted the Sabian maidens. You know, he uses, you know, such eloquent words like abducted. These men went and stole those women and forced them against their will to marry them. All right, but promised them honorable marriage. So then they promised their fathers, okay, well, we stole these women and, you know, assaulted them. What we will do is we will marry this woman. We will have it on a certificate where this woman is, you know, my spouse or my wife. And now, you know, if I was to die or if I was to be unalived, all my resources go to this woman, right? In which they would enjoy the benefits of property, citizenship, and children, right? And then, you know, the Sabians accepted, was like, okay, that's fine. You know, you took this woman, you forced yourself upon her, but okay, if you're going to, you know, quote unquote, make it honorable, which I don't know if there is a way to make that honorable. You know, me personally, I'm not taking that deal if someone was to do that to my sisters. You know, the Israelites, we don't play like that. If someone was to do such a filth, there's a story about what happened when somebody tried to force ourselves on our sisters. It was war. I think that was with it was like the Benjamites. The Benjamites were almost wiped out because they tried to force themselves on somebody. All right. So we're gonna get read on. Marriages help families to build economic and political bonds and alliances. I think that's pretty much it on that. But you know, that's where, you know, the idea of monogamy comes from. That's the history on it. Now, I'm gonna get into the Bible, right? Let's see what the Bible says about a man having more than one wife. All right, Exodus chapter 21 and verse 20. If he take him another wife, meaning, you know, a brother has a wife and he decides that he wants to take him another wife. It is in the Bible for a man to have more than one wife. It could be 2, 3, 4, however many this brother decides to have. You know, Solomon had 300. Now he sinned because he took other nations' women, but the fact of him having, you know, 300 women wasn't the problem. It was that these women were other nations. right? But you know, you could be a Solomon, you could be a lawful Solomon and have 300 Israelite women. But if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish, right? So if you have another wife, her food, meaning the food that she makes for you, you know, sisters like to make food and take care of their husbands. Her raiment, you know, you read Proverbs 31, that sister made clothes for her husband and her family. And her duty of marriage, you know, duty of marriage that's what consummates a marriage. Our duty of marriage is sex. So if you take another woman, you cannot diminish, meaning you cannot belittle or you cannot reject. Now, you can't just say, you know, I've got another woman, so I don't, you know, don't bother cooking for me. Don't bother, you know, making clothes, or don't bother, you know, I don't want to sleep with you no more because I've got this other woman. You cannot do that. You cannot do that according to the Bible. All right? It says you can't diminish those things. So if you have another woman, you should still allow, you know, your first wife to make food for you. Don't reject her food because now you're full because this other woman cooks for you. And now, you know, now you don't taste this first rib's food, and now she feels a type of way because she can't cook for you. She can't take care of you. It's a woman's desire to take care of her husband, right? Her raiment, you know what I'm saying? She might make clothes for you. She might do certain things for you. And her duty of marriage, you can't just, you know, even the Bible, it says you can't, what's it go? You know, you can't, it says something about due benevolence, right? Which is sex. You can't just, you know, withhold sex unless it's agreed for a time. In this case, it's not agreed. In this case, you've just found another woman and you're basically leaving this first woman high and dry because now this other woman can produce and provide everything for you. You can't do that. Okay, you have to keep both. You have to allow both to give you food, both to, you know, give you raiment. You have to, you know, you can't just stop sleeping with one to sleep with another. You have to give unto each rib due benevolence, right? You cannot diminish it according to the Bible. All right. Now that's that. In fact, let me get one more scripture. I'm gonna break down adultery. I think we all understand now. Of course, adultery isn't just anybody's, you know, you have a wife or a husband, and then, you know, of course we read in the Bible that if a man take more than one wife or take another wife, or, you know, if a man puts away his wife to get another, that's adultery. It's not adultery for a man to get another wife. We just read that in Exodus 21:10. As long as her raiment, her food, her duty of marriage doesn't, you can't diminish that, right? It's absolutely lawful, and it's not against the Bible, and it's not against God like Christianity will have you believe. Christianity will have you believe that God wants you to, you know, it's evil against the Most High for you to desire another woman. Brother, you're just a man. That's it. You're not evil. You're not, you know, you're not some heathen that the Christian pastor will have you believe. You're just a man. You're just a man that desires more than one woman. It's absolutely, you know, it's perfectly fine. Now again, not every brother has to desire more than one woman, but you're not evil for desiring more than one woman, right? Now with that, I think we'll close it out there. With that, that is my show. All right, Most High in Christ. Let's clap it up. Reward everybody for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? Now, make sure you'll catch this show again every Monday and Thursday from 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. We'll bring out, again, relevant topics, recent news, and we'll go into the biblical perspective. We'll break the whole thing down, you know what I'm saying, so I can give you these revelations in real time. All right, now make sure y'all tune in. We'll be on the scripture breakdown class taught by Captain of 10,000 Karathia. You know what I'm saying? Give Captain Karathia a hand out of the UK. You know what I'm saying? That brother heads the UK real strong. All right, and if you have any questions about the Bible, you could have any questions about life in general, you could have questions about monogamy. All right, bring those questions to that class and we will answer every and all questions. All right, and with that, I say shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Barakathama to all the brothers, and Yahweh Shema Alathan Ba'ashem Yahushai to all the sisters. All right, shalom.
Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, then you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Polls everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.